Yes, thank you, Jolene. And we will be sending out this presentation, so you will have access to all the information that I'm sharing in the slides after this webinar ends. Okay, so for the next similarity, like I was saying before, the steps that you use to upload into the portal will be very, very similar. And the last major similarity is the actual template that you use. We're going to be using this year for summer 2024, the template that for last year public schools use for PBT. So if you are representing a private school, the template will look a little bit different this year. But I will, of course, go over all the details of the template later in the webinar, and it really should still look pretty similar to what you're used to. It's only a few columns that have been modified or deleted. So now to discuss the differences, one of the main differences is the type of students who are going to be eligible for this new program. For S-EBT, you're going to want to upload any student who you have an NSLP application on file for. And the main difference for S-EBT is that in addition to those students who you have NSLP applications for, you're going to want to upload any foster, runaway, migrant, or homeless students. And this is whether they have an NSLP application on file or not. And so another big difference is last year for PEBT, if a school was CEP or provision 1 or 2, the district would just upload their entire enrollment file, because for PBT, if you attended one of those schools, you were automatically eligible for benefits. This will not be the way it goes for this year. If a student attends a CEP or provision 1 or 2 school, they still have to fall under the income guidelines to be able to receive these benefits. And so when it comes to this population of students, the Tennessee Department of Human Services will have an application. They're going to have an online application where parents can go to that link and fill out an application to establish eligibility for their students. Um, However, if you do represent CEP or Provision 1 or 2 schools, it's really important that you still make sure that you're uploading any foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless students if you do have a record of them, even though you don't necessarily have those NSLP applications on file. Also, I know that for this year, there are several or uh, multiple schools who, during the middle of the year, transition from being non-CEP to CEP. If you represent a school where that transition occurred, we are still asking that you upload any NSLP applications that you have um, on file, even though any later students won't necessarily have those applications if they join your school after that transfer was done. But if you still have a record of students who submitted an SLP application while the school was still non-CEP, we do ask that you still upload those students when you upload your foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless students. And for the last major difference between S-EBT and PBT, for PBT, we had a step called benefit verification review. Since PEBT benefits were tied to COVID-related absences, we did have this validation step where we would have you all just verify that the COVID absences were correct. And so since this new benefit is just tied to making sure that families have enough, make sure that families can afford to purchase food for children this summer, there isn't a need to do that extra validation step. So when it comes to uploading and validating students for S-EBT, it's going to be done in fewer steps compared to PEBT. Now I will go over important dates. The S-EBT school portal will open on this upcoming Monday, April 22nd, 2024. It will be open for 3 weeks and will close on Friday, May 10th. And then in June of 2024, the Department of Human Services will begin issuing and sending out S-EBT cards to eligible students. So now for the school portal. When it comes to the school portal, this is going to be your main hub when it comes to S-EBT and uploading your eligible students. I have here on this slide on the right-hand side a screenshot of what the school portal will look like once you log in. It's fairly simple, so there really are only a few buttons that are important for you all when it comes to making sure that you're uploading your students successfully. So the first icon that'll be important for you all is the Submit S-EBT Eligibility file. It's in the top right-hand side of that screenshot. When you click on that area, it'll open up a new window where you can attach the template that you'll use for uploading students, as well as add some additional information. Another really important feature is our FAQs tab, which is pretty small in the screenshot. It's going to be in the top right corner. And when you log in, you will be able to see your name in the top right corner. So the FAQ buttons will just be right next to where your name is. And if you click on this button, you'll be able to access the template for uploading your students. We'll also be sending that out via email, but you can find it on the portal via that way. You will also be able to find a list of district and school names that are eligible to upload their S-EBT students to this portal. In addition to the district and school names, each school will have a school ID and district ID that you can find on that list. And then we also will have this presentation and the resource guide, which just has more details on making sure that you are successfully uploading your students. You'll also be able to find those resources on the FAQs tab when you click on it in the portal. Another important section is the recent student submissions, which you'll be able to find under that image of a school underneath the S-EBT school portal title. Once you submit a submission, you'll be able to see the status of your submission. And the first time you submit something, it's just going to say new, but after the portal has done some of its automatic validations, you'll be able to see if your submission passed or failed, and you'll be able to see that status in the recent student submissions area. And each time you add a submission, you'll also be able to see the date and year that you submitted a file. And lastly, if at any point you need to change your password, on the lower right-hand side of this screenshot, there is a laptop icon, and right below it, it says change password. So that's all you need to click if for whatever reason you need to change the password for your portal login. And like I said before, TDHS is sending out login information, but if you do not have anything yet in your inbox, please check your junk mail, as well as just wait until the end of the week to see if you receive it by then. So next, I'm going to go over the actual upload template. It's fairly simple. All it is an Excel workbook, and in the first row, there'll be a list of columns. These columns are very important, and it's really important that you do not modify them in any way. If you do modify the columns, there is always the risk that once you try to upload your template to this school portal, it may fail. So it's just really important that, district ID, school ID, that whole row of information that's in dark blue at the top of this slide, that you make sure that whoever is responsible for these uploads only adds student information after that set of columns and not modify any of the column headers. It's also important that for each student that you add to the template, that you make sure that they have data for every single column. So it's really important that you're not leaving out any state student IDs and that the mailing address is fully complete. If we don't have that data, there is a risk that your file may not pass on the validation and you'll have to resubmit it again. It's also very important that the formatting of the data for each cell is the correct format. And I will go over that in more details in the next slide. But the resource guide that we will send out will also have in detail the specifics for how you should be formatting, for instance, date of births and things like that. I do want to call attention to the last column on the right. It's titled Date FNR Application Received, and FNR is just means free and reduced. So this would be the column where you put the dates that you received NSLP applications. If you are from representing a school that does not record the dates that they receive NSLP applications, or if you have a student who is a foster, runaway, migrant, or homeless student and they do not have an NSLP application on file, but you still need to upload them, you can always use July 1st, 2023 as the date for that column. All that really signifies is the beginning of the eligibility period for summer 2024 S-EBT benefits. But if you do not have that date, you can easily use July 1st, 2023, and your file should successfully upload. And like I said before, the portal will automatically validate the information that you upload. It typically takes 15 to 30 minutes for it to finish that validation. And if you have any errors, you will receive an email identifying those errors, as well as any corrections that need to be made. The only caveat to this is that when it comes to how the portal validates mailing addresses, all it really does is it sees if the mailing address that was put in the Excel workbook matches um, the mailing addresses that are in the US Postal Service's mailing address database. If you do have a template where everything is perfect, there isn't any errors except, let's say there are several addresses that for the portal wasn't able to match to the US Postal Service's mailing address database, the file will successfully upload. TDHS will be able to, deem your students that you uploaded as eligible for S-EBT benefits. However, you will still get an email identifying any errors in the mailing addresses. It'll have a pretty short um, summary kind of telling you what exactly within the mailing address. So for instance, if it's the actual mailing address, in our example, we have 57 Apple Road, like it would indicate, oh, we cannot find this match in our database, something along those lines. And so it's just really important that even though when you go onto the portal, it will say, past because your file did pass, that you still try to edit any incorrect mailing or invalid mailing addresses and re-upload your template, just because we want to minimize any risk of TDHS sending S-EBT cards to the wrong mailing address. So now I'm going to go over the specifics of cell formatting for each column, starting with district ID. The district ID must be 1 to 4 characters, and that can be a combination of letters and numbers. For the school ID, you just want to really make sure that the school ID that you use is the one that is also listed in the FAQs page on the portal. As a reminder, if you click on the FAQs, you're going to be able to see a list of every school and its accompanying school ID and district ID that is eligible for uploading. Um, Students to our S-EBT portal. So it's just really important that when you are filling out this template, that the school ID that you use for each student matches what we have on the FAQ page for school IDs. And then for the state student ID, first name, last name, and date of birth is extremely important that whatever you put in these rows matches what is in the EIS system. And EIS is the state's enrollment database where attendance supervisors upload the attendance data from their own databases so that the state has access to that. This is what we're going to be validating this information against. So it's just really important that you make sure that the first name, last name, date of birth, and state student ID matches so that you don't have to worry about re-uploading another file if if the portal is not able to make that match. And additionally, for the student date of birth, it's really important that you use the month, day, year format. So in our example, our student was born on September 23rd, 2009. It's just really important that you make sure you include any leading zeros if it's appropriate for the date of birth. And then when it comes to the mailing address, mailing city, mailing state, and mailing zip, once again, just really want to make sure that if you do get a error report indicating that the portal wasn't able to validate the mailing address, city, state, or zip, that you just try to resubmit a new workbook with corrected address information. Also, when it comes to the student county column, it's very important that you don't include the actual word county. So for our example, if a student attended a school that was in Davidson County, you just want to include Davidson. And then once again, for that date F&R application received, if you do not record these dates or you have a student who just doesn't have an NSLP application, but they're foster, migrant, runaway, or homeless, you can use July 1st, 2023 as a filler date. And also it's really important, similar to date of birth, that you use the month, day, year format. But that is what I want to cover for today's webinar. We went over the timeline, the differences between S-EBT and PBT, as well as how you should add your students to your template, and what you can click on the online portal to actually finish uploading your students. So now we can start with the Q&A. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions. Emmanuel and I are ready to answer as much as we can.
And really quickly, we had one question in the chat. It wasn't letting me reply for some reason, but the question was, what about Medicaid free and reduced students? Those students will be captured directly by our team and DHS through TMAC, and files sent over by 10Care directly. So we don't need those students uploaded anywhere by you guys, by y'all. And I had to rejoin Joy to make sure that I was trying to see if I could see all the Q&As, but I'm only seeing the one. Were you able to share the phone number information?
No, I didn't, but thank you for reminding me that, Manuel. And also for your awareness, TDHS is setting up a helpline that you'll be able to use if you have any issues when it comes to uploading to the school portal. They still are in the process of setting it up, but they do plan to have that phone number available for you all on Monday, April 29th. And we'll make sure in a future communication to give you all that phone number so that when it is the time for you to be able to call, if you have any questions, you'll be able to do so. But in the meantime, you can still reach out to us at summer.ebt, ebt@tnedu.gov, if you do have any questions before the helpline is set up.
Send this presentation to us?
Yes, we will be sending the presentation. Ideally, we are planning to send it out tomorrow, and it'll have the recording, the template, resource guide.
Okay, thank you.
Can you go back over what you said if our schools went CEP in January?
Yes, let me go back to that part
Thank
of
you.
the little slide. So if you have if you represent schools where during the middle of the year they transferred from non-CEP to CEP, you should still upload students who you received NSLP applications for during the beginning of the year. So even though you are CEP, and I know that NSLP doesn't matter as much anymore now that you've transitioned, if you still have those records on file, you should still put those students in the upload template.
Thank you.
I see another question. Someone asks if CEP schools should use July 1st, 2023 for the F&R application column. You should only use this if you just don't have recorded in your database the date that you received an NSLP application, but this also would only apply to those schools where they transition from non-CEP to CEP. However, also if you have a foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless student, and for whatever reason they do not have an NSLP application, that's also another case where you can use that July 1st, 2023. Ultimately, if you just do not have a date for when an NSLP application was received, you can use July 1st, 2023.
Hi, that was my question. Just to clarify, those of us who are CEP schooled out on July 1, we wouldn't necessarily have, applications. So just put July 1 for everyone then?
Yes,
Or should we do, okay.
And by everyone, this would only be the foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless students. You will not be uploading your entire enrollment, which was what was done last year. It is only those foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless students if you are representing CEP schools.
Perfect. Then to clarify, those students who qualify for CEP but don't qualify under those markers, they would not be eligible for this program?
They could be eligible, but they will have to establish their eligibility through an S-EBT application. And TDHS will have an online application available as well as a paper application, but there will be a way for parents to fill out that application to get benefits.
Perfect. When we did this for the pandemic, we were supplied with some materials that we could pass on to families. Will that be the expectation this time?
So we did share a S-EBT fact sheet and the announcement that went out earlier. You can definitely share that with parents if you like. But so far, that's the only thing that we sent out that has general S-EBT information.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
What about the students that maybe enroll after we submit? Do we just, that are eligible?
So as of now, we only have one upload period scheduled for summer 2024 S-EBT benefits. So if there was a student who enrolled in your school after you finish your upload, you should direct them to have their parents submit an S-EBT application. And the application is not live yet, but we will make sure to notify you when it is available for parents to fill out.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
So what about our students that we get from the state Medicaid file?
So any students who are on your who you have as being eligible for free and reduced benefits because you received information from the state, you do not need to upload those students. We will already be working with our partner agencies to get that data directly from them and working with TDHS to make sure that they're on their eligible student list. However, if it is something where all of that information, is just combined in your school's database, students who received free and reduced lunch from NSLP applications versus being direct certified, it's totally fine if it's easier to just upload all those students, but there is no need to upload students that are directly certified.
Okay, because my district, we are CEP, and so every month I go into the the database and pull their list, and then I compile it with our list to come up with our our percentage of economically disadvantaged. So can I just download that same list into this one? Because the only people on that one are the ones that are economically disadvantaged already.
Pull it from your system, sister. And the template has to be this one.
You wouldn't necessarily have to do that because we will have that information. Really, for your case, since you are representing a CEP school, you would only need to upload foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless students if you just have a record of them. But when it comes to that TMAC data that you have already looked at and verified, we already have access to that data.
You don't have to upload CEP. Well, she's saying, like in CEP, they have
Thank you.
the Medicaid kids.
I have a
But if
question about
anybody
the SNAP.
in there is foster.
Hey, Vicky, did you have a question? I think that was the person that was speaking. I wasn't.
This is Eva. I have a question.
Okay.
We may have some students identified as SNAP or TANF from prior to our district migrating to the new state matching process. Did you say that it's okay to upload SNAP and TANF? Because we do have some students identified that the state has not, from extended benefits or just mismatches for name, misspelled or whatever.
Yes, it is fine. The Tennessee Department of Human Services, they will be doing an entire deduplication process. So if we do have something where we have, multiple students from what we send over to TDHS when it comes to direct certified students and what you upload, that is no issue at all. Really, when it comes to the direct certification students, if it's easier for you to just upload them, then that's totally fine. There just isn't a need to.
Okay, thank you.
Can you
Hey, so this
clarify?
is, sorry, this is Audra Barron with the state agency. I'm here with a group of supervisors. We're all joining in together. And one of the questions was similar to what Eva just asked, but I'm not sure that we got a clear answer. So some of our directly certified students, their benefits extend to others in the household. And I don't know that that's something that you would have access to. So how would we get benefits that have been extended to DHS?
And just to make sure I understand, when you say benefits that are extended, is this something where it's like there may be a baby or toddler in the family who is also receiving those benefits, or these school-aged children who are also attending?
Yes, these are school-age children that for whatever reason, they are not on the directly certified list, but they live in the same household as another student who is on the DC list. So we are allowed to extend the benefits from student A, who is on the DC list, to student B, who is not on the DC list. And I'm not sure that you would have access to the extended students.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. And in that case, I would recommend that you upload those students who are on that extended list when you do your normal foster, runaway, migrant, homeless student upload. If there is a chance that we also, for whatever reason, do have that data in TMAC and there's a duplicate, then TDHS can just deduplicate those students. But yes, if it is something where you are confident that a student isn't in TMAC, but you do have them in your files as being eligible, then yes, you should upload them to the portal just to make sure we're not missing anyone and no one is falling through any cracks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Audra. That was a really good one.
I have a question, please.
Mhm.
I am not the nutrition supervisor for our district. She wasn't able to join, so I'm just filling in. And you probably said this, but I'm sorry, I had a phone call. Where is the template located, or has it been sent to the nutrition supervisors?
We will be sending the template. Ideally, we're planning on sending it tomorrow to nutrition supervisors, but once the portal opens on Monday, you can also access the template on the portal. There is going to be a page called FAQs on the homepage of the portal, and it will include the template as well as some other guidance documents.
Okay, I apologize if you said that. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Students that live at Bridges or have addresses that are not to be given out, I only have access to what's in the student data. And so sometimes I can't completely correct an address. Like for some reason, the Bridges address always comes back as an error.
And just to make sure I'm understanding, so you're saying that there's like an area in your school district where you find, like in the last round of PBT, that whenever you would upload those addresses, it would come back as an error? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think so. I think the address in the database for security for the child and the family, I don't know if it's a little bit incorrect or if it's just an address that doesn't really compute with the US mail system. But that's the only access I have to a student's information.
I'll say in that case where you are having a very tricky situation with trying to figure out the valid address for a student, at least valid when it comes to our SNOW portal, that is when I would encourage you to call the helpline number, which should be active on April 29th, because they'll be able to give you better guidance on how that formatting should work.
Okay.
But at a minimum, those students, if the only issue is that the mailing address for some students isn't showing up as valid in the US Postal Service mailing address, I mean, those students will still be considered eligible for benefits. So that's not something you'll have to worry about. But if you do call that helpline, they should be able to give you better assistance on correcting addresses, just to make sure that we have the best address available.
Thank you.
I have a question for the formatting. So you said it was going to be an Excel spreadsheet. So I know when we upload for the state, we have to make sure that it's in that, comma space delimited. For this one, you guys are accepting directly the Excel spreadsheet?
Yes, just the Excel spreadsheet is what you'll be uploading.
Okay, thank you.
And really quick, I just wanted to call out, for whatever reason, the Q&A box deleted all the questions that I was able to see. They might still be there. So if anyone has one that's not being addressed there, please feel free to ask it now. I apologize, can't get to it to answer them directly.
This is Dina. I had put the questions in the chat, but the first one that I wanted some clarity on was, do you know when the link for the parents to check their eligibility will be available?
So that date, so I just want to reference a document just to make sure I'm telling you the correct information. But as of now, TDHS is targeting to have the eligibility data in the parent portal on May 27th. So in late May, that is when parents should be able to expect to see if their students will be receiving benefits.
Okay, thank you. And my second question, I'm sorry, I feel like this is your third time repeating, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm comprehending what needs to occur. Is I just wanted you to clarify that for schools that opted into the mid-year CEP, we still need to upload any students that completed an NSLP application before we opted in. And then we also need to still upload students that are foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I appreciate your clarity.
Hey, this is Leslie from the state agency, and I had put a question in the chat. I just want to make sure this slide says to upload foster students. However, there are some foster students that are automatically matched within the TMAC system, so those would not have to be uploaded. Is that correct?
Yes. We will be transferring that data over to TDHS. We included this for all schools to upload their foster students, just because we know there are some cases where there may be a foster student that at the local level a school is aware of, but for whatever reason hasn't been rolled up to our state databases. So just as a way to cover all of our steps.
Great, thank you.
And are there additional questions? If at any point you have, oh, sorry, I think someone is trying to speak.
I'm sorry. Yeah. This is Dina again. So I'm not sure if other schools on the call have or have the same situation going on, but this is KIPP Nashville. So we have 5 schools that are under Metro Nashville, and then 3 of our other schools we are the SFA for. So 5 of them in Metro is the SFA, School Food Authority, and then the other 3 we're the School Food Authority. So in that case, I ran into this issue the last couple years we did PEBT for the schools that Metro. It's just the clarity piece, like who's uploading the students. So for our 5 schools that fall under the SFA for Metro, would they be uploading the students? And then, of course, the 3 that we're the SFA for, we would be uploading the students. So I'm not sure if that's a TDOE Office of School Nutrition question, or if you could answer that.
So when it comes to charter schools with tricky organization, we do ask that you follow the uploading that practice that you used for the last round of PBT. So if you had something where only one SFA uploaded for every single student, or each SFA just did for their own student, then you should follow whatever was done last year for PEBT. However, this is something where you can email us at our summer.ebt@tnedu.gov just to make sure we are on the same page on how things are configured, just because we can help you when it comes to figuring out what is currently the configuration for the KIPP schools on the upload portal. So if you email us, we can get you a solid answer, but generally you just want to follow the uploading configuration that was done for the last round of PBT.
Okay.
This is Eva with Metro Nashville. We did plan on uploading the 5 KIPP schools, and we did in the past.
Eva, thank you so much for confirming that. I'm glad I asked.
I saw a question in chat that was just posted, and it says, just to clarify, a CEP school should only upload foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless students. And that is correct. If you're a CEP school that was CEP for the entire duration of the school year, you're only worrying about those foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless students. And that's because when it comes to that class of student, it doesn't matter if they have an NSLP or not. They are still eligible for benefits. I see another question. They ask if there's a chance that we will have further meetings once parents become aware of the program and start calling local districts for further information. So we do plan on hosting another Q&A call. This will be more casual than this webinar, but we do plan on hosting that next Tuesday, and we will be sending out in the email that we plan to send out tomorrow the calendar invite as well as the meeting information, so you can join that call. For that one, you can just pop in if you have just any questions that were raised that you just have since this webinar. But also you can still contact us at the summer.ebt email, and we will answer any questions that you have as soon as we can.
Joy, don't kill me. I'm sorry, everybody. Okay, so schools that are fully CEP have been since the beginning of the school year. They're just uploading foster, runaway, migrant, and homeless, right?
Yes. Yes.
So when parents find out about this, they're gonna want those CEP schools, like those families, they're probably more than likely going to want to see if they're eligible. So you all are asking for us to upload these lists within the next like 3 weeks, but we're not getting the link until mid-May.
You'll have a link to upload to the school portal fairly soon, but the parents will not be able to see, because we have a school portal and a parent portal. The
Yeah.
parents will not be able to see until late May. But that's also around the time that the S-EBT application will open. So if they do not see that they were eligible for benefits, then they could apply.
Okay, thank you.
See another questions from Brooke, and it says for CEP district-wide schools, are they including extended students too? And yes, this is similar to a question that Audra asked, but if you are in a situation where you know that you have a student who like for instance, like their SNAP benefit was extended to another student in the household, but you're not confident that that is data that was on TMAC, definitely just upload them to the Excel workbook just to make sure that we're not missing anyone. And Brooke, let me know if I didn't directly answer your question. And I
There's
see
another one here. Yeah, go ahead, John. You got it.
someone asked if there is a number that we will provide for parents when they need to ask about eligibility. Yes, parents will have a helpline number. It is not set up yet, but as soon as DHS gives us that information, we can communicate that number to you all.
Hey, Joy, can we just be sure that the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission charter schools and the Achievement School District charter schools are provisioned for that portal?
Yes, and you said the Tennessee Commission Charter School and Achievement, Mike?
Right, any charter schools that are chartered by the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission and any of those chartered by the Achievement School District.
Yes, I can connect with DHS and just to make sure that they gave login information for the nutrition supervisors that we have listed for those schools.
And some of those schools won't have nutrition supervisors. They'll just have, it'll be the school staff that take care of that. So, for example, there are some of those charter schools in Shelby County that are not receiving food service from, or I'm sorry, they are receiving food service from Shelby County schools. But Shelby County Schools does not keep their enrollment.
Sorry, just making sure I'm writing all this down. Make sure I have the right follow-up. Yes, this is something where I can work with DHS just to make sure that we have the provisioning right. And Mike, I may need to reach out to you just to make sure that the names that we do have right now who are provisioned are the correct ones, but I'll make sure put that on my to-do list to connect with DHS about.
Thank you.
And Joy, there was another question. If we upload our file and then end up having some additional students that need to be added before the portal closes, can we do a second upload? I think any upload would replace the existing one, correct, Joy? You might be more privy to how the back end there works, but I do believe you should be able to do that.
Yes, you can make as many uploads as needed before the portal closes. And I see a question.
Yeah, I just had to clarify on that. My computer kind of cut in. So we can make as many uploads as we want and it will not replace the original one, correct? It'll just add to what we already have.
That, I actually want to follow up with our DHS team. They're the ones who are in charge of the school portal just to make sure that I send you, say the right information. Because I want to say that it will not replace, and I'm 95% sure that will not replace what you previously uploaded. But I will confirm that with our DHS team just to make sure I can send you the right information. And that was Marsha Wade who asked that question. Is that correct?
Yes, Marsha Wade, MK Wade at ortn.edu. Thank you.
And we also will be sending out FAQs as well. For the FAQs, we plan to cover some of the common questions that were asked during this call, as well as the follow-up call that we plan on hosting on Tuesday, as well as any questions that come into our summer.ebt email. So we will have a list of questions to answers to common questions that we will send to you all as soon as we can.
So the question about replacing the data with other uploads will be on the FAQ.
Yes.
We'll make sure to add it. I just reached out for clarity on that question, and it wouldn't replace any existing files. It would just append to the overall upload from the district. So it would just add new students. That's perfectly fine, and it won't replace anything you've already done.
Thank you for checking that, Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
But we'll have it in the FAQs.
Another question says, do we include preschool students that attend our school daily? You should include them if you have a NSLP application on file for them, or you have them recorded as being foster, runaway, migrant, or homeless students. I see another question. It was asked if we will be sending out a list of students that qualify, and if that will be what prompts the upload. And no, we will not be sending to you all any like lists of students that we believe were qualified. We're just asking that you use your local databases to collect information on students who you have approved NSLP applications for, as well as students who you have recorded in your local systems as being a foster, runaway, migrant, or homeless students. And you can start uploading those students as soon as the portal opens on Monday. And please feel free to take yourself off of mute if you did ask a question in the chat and we haven't answered it yet. I am looking through just to make sure that we've answered all the questions.
Yeah, they're appearing now sporadically, but it's kind of jumping around. But I think we've addressed all the ones I can see at least. All right.
Okay, are there
Looks like
any
there's
more
no
questions? Well, thank you everyone for joining the webinar. Like Josh was saying earlier, we really do appreciate all the effort that you'll have to put in for S-EBT, as well as the effort that some of you have already been putting in for PEBT when that was in place. So we really do appreciate your time. And please just come to us through our email if you have any questions. But thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.